Ishwarama's resplendent sun. It's the start of a bright new day. Time to rise, time to shine, Lord divine. Time to lead us along life's way. Awake, Lord of Buddha party. Awake, O Lord, over all mankind. Awake, O Lord of compassion, that the world good fortune may find.
Pranams at the lotus feet of my Lord, and my respects to my international chairman, Brother Indulal Shah. Brothers and sisters, most of us have today been addressing ourselves as brothers and sisters. How does Swami address us? Swami says, Prem Sarup Lara, Atma Sarup Lara. He continues to remind us every time he makes a discourse that we are the embodiment of love and we are the embodiment of Atma. Atma, which is Paramatma. Atma that never dies, that is never born, is always there. He continues to remind us who we are, what is our origin. And then he told us on the 28th of September 1998 in his discourse that this Atma must take a form. And he told us that there are 8.4 million forms on this planet. 8.4 million forms on this planet. 2.1 million are born of egg. 2.1 million are born from the womb, like we are. Another 2.1 are born from the sweat. And the last 2.1 million forms come from the earth, the plants, etc. And he said the human form is the most important in 8.4 million forms, the human form. Because it is when you have the human form that you can recognize divinity, understand it, and merge into it. So my brothers and sisters, the human form that we have got today is the most important in 8.4 million forms. Now just imagine how fortunate we are, how blessed we are to be in this form. Further, that we may have a human form, but we may not be born at a time when a divine soul is here. So, we are even more blessed because the divine soul is with us and he can teach us and he can help us to overcome the last few steps so that we can get liberation, we can get moksha. He is teaching us, he is guiding us, and not only that, but he has provided a vehicle for us through which we can attain that final goal of liberation. And the vehicle is our Sri Sathya Sai Seva organization. And those of us, I'm sure most of us here are office bearers, are fortunate to be at this time in human form to make that connection with the divine. I'm sure you know millions of people are on this planet at the moment who do not know even the existence of Swami. So just imagine, you have a soul, a divine soul, an Atma. You have the human form, which is the highest form in 8.4 million. You are born at the right time. You have made connections with Swami. Most of you here, I'm sure, have a story to tell how Swami called them. And then you are made charioteers of Swami's organization. He is spoon-feeding us. My brothers and sisters, he is spoon-feeding us. Yet, we have office bearers who do not understand unity, who do not understand cooperation, who do not love each other as we should, and therefore we have to make rules and regulations. Otherwise, rules and regulations are not necessary. If only we realize our situation, if only we realize our position, then we don't need these rules and regulations. But being human as we are, we unfortunately do not understand where we are. And therefore, we have to provide rules and regulations in such an organization to carry on. Our organization is started to enable man to lead an ideal life and to bring about a transformation in society. There are two factors that can ruin an individual. That's what Swami says. The first one is the ego, and the other is jealousy. Swami says, jealousy is a pest, and ego is an insect that is harmful. Both can ill the plant. In the tree of human life, jealousy works from the inside and spoils the human quality, and ego expresses itself from outside, and the human quality is hidden. Therefore, in our organization, we should be far away, far, far away from ego and jealousy, and cultivate a broad mind. That should be our first principle. On service, Swami says, while we are rendering service, there should not be pomposity. Develop a broad heart and foster love. Active workers are the very backbone of our organization, and they should understand the true human qualities and practice them. Baba has said, the joy and sorrows that you go through in life are like, and dislikes and likes encounter in everyday life, and are the manifestations of our own mind. We have developed some rules and regulations when we started the charter, the first charter. And since then, we've had various world conferences where we made changes in these rules and regulations. And I believe during the 75th birthday, perhaps we will have a conference when again we will bring about some changes. But in the meantime, everybody keeps asking, wherever we go, what are the present rules and regulations? And so we have prepared for this zone a document which most of you will get to take away with you, the rules and regulations of Sathya Sai Seva organization. These are the rules and regulations at the moment we are to follow until we have the next world conference where there may be some changes. Baba has I believe in my heart, specially selected the office bearers because he has told us so himself. And I quote, and I want you to listen to this very seriously because this is something that we must understand in our present human form. He says, "Your mission has begun. These are my words to you, my devotees. Each of you has a unique and valuable part to play in this lifetime. Only those whom I have called can serve me. My mission has reached that point in time when each one of you has work to do. This planet has a purpose in the great galaxy in which it is held. The purpose is now unfolding before your eyes. I call upon you to radiate the bhakti within you so that its unseen power will involve all who come into your orbit. To successfully perform your part, always remain centered upon me. Allow yourself to impart that purity of heart within you towards all human beings and all living creatures, and do not reach for the fruit of your work. This part of my mission is performed in absolute silence. You are my instruments, from whom my love will pour. Be always aware that the moment you let your ego descend upon you, my work ceases. When you have come over your negative unmindfulness, you will again become my source. Be about my work, my beloved bhaktas. Your breath will carry the scent and the blossom of heaven. Your example will be that of angels. Your joy will be my joy. This is what Swami's message is for office bearers. And therefore, although I'm going to go through the rules and regulations, but what I'm trying to say is that if we understand ourselves, we don't need these rules and regulations. If we understand Swami's message, we don't need these rules and regulations. I will now go through the rules and regulations. First, recently we have had some changes in our structure in India as well as outside India. And basically we are concerned with outside India because we are living in foreign countries. Sathya Sai Seva organization is headed by Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Under him comes the international chairman. Now, if you remember, about 2 years ago, we had what was said Group A and Group B. I believe somebody mentioned even this in one of the talks, Group B. We don't have any more Groups A and Group B. We have now 5 zones, and Africa comes under Zone 5. Africa is under Zone 5. Now, in every zone, we have regions, and for every region, we have a central coordinator. You may have 2, 3, 4, or 5 coordinators in any one region. If there is a country like we have Ivory Coast, where there's only one center, then that center comes directly under the central coordinator. If we have a country like Nigeria, where there are 5 centers, then you have a coordinating committee which comes under the central coordinator directly. But where you have a country like South Africa, Mauritius, where we have many, many centers. In South Africa, you have 98 centers. Then you have several coordinating committees, and then the center comes under the coordinating committee. But there is a central council, that is, chairman of each coordinating committee forms a central council, and that council comes under the central coordinator. Then, as usual, I'm sure most of you know that the centers have chairman, vice chairman, secretary, seva convener, youth convener, spiritual convener, educational convener, and the ladies forum. Now I have put this chart here for you to observe it very clearly, because there's another point to this. If you know the structure, then if you as a devotee or an office bearer have a problem that you need to be sorted out, or a comment or a recommendation to be made, whatever it may be, you should approach the right person. If you are a devotee and it's to do with spiritual matters, you should approach in your center the spiritual convener. If you are an office bearer, you should approach the chairman of your center. If you are a center chairman, you should approach your coordinating committee. But what happens sometimes is a devotee writes a letter right up to maybe the central coordinator or to the zone chairman, or even sometime to the international chairman, with something which could have been sorted out in the center itself. So there should be some kind of protocol. And I think we are all educated enough to understand how to go about this. Because what happens, I love to receive letters. I'm very happy to receive letters. But if I receive a letter, something to do with Transvaal in South Africa, I will immediately send the letter back to South Africa, to the central coordinator in South Africa, and he will refer it to the coordinating committee of Transvaal, and he will refer it back to the center chairman, whoever the center chairman where that letter comes from. So what will happen is that you are just going to waste a lot of time going up and down. So please, my brothers and sisters, when you are writing, you are commenting, you are recommending, send it to the right place, the right person, so that it can be taken care of immediately. The document here which we have produced for all the rules and regulations is a long document, and I don't think I can go into it item by item. But I would like to touch on certain items so that we know where we stand. And the first of all, the first one is the membership. Any member who is a spiritual aspirant has faith in the teachings of Bhagwan Baba and who is prepared to make an effort. I emphasize the word prepared to make an effort, to abide by the 9 points code of conduct, the 10 principles, and the rules and regulations of the organization will be treated as a member. Also, all the executive members and active members should undergo a leadership course where practical. Now, I'm emphasizing on this membership issue because many centers put up obstacles, put up conditions. I have also seen some members where they demand entrance fee, dues. Therefore, I want to make it very clear. Baba has said, between man and God, there is only a loving heart. That is the only condition, a loving heart. Therefore, please, don't put obstacles and conditions to brothers and sisters who want to become members of our center. And I emphasize the point, make an effort to the 9 points of code of conduct and the 10 principles. Because sometimes, we are all human beings, sometimes we get carried away with things. We do not understand ourselves. We do not realize the real Atma that we are. And therefore, we want this and we want that. But once we come into the fold of Swami, I say into his orbit, then we will get closer and closer. And then we will understand the 9 points of conduct, etc. So brothers and sisters, please don't put obstacles. Another thing which is connected to membership is sometimes I receive a letter from one of the office bearers. So-and-so center is not functioning well. So-and-so officer is not doing well. discard that center's name, cancel that center's name. And I say to myself, the center doesn't belong to any one person. Now, it doesn't even belong to me. The center is a group of people who come together, who have faith in Swami, who love Swami, and they want to work together to create that center. How can you cancel that center? Yes, if somebody is not prepared to work, you can change the office bearers, but you cannot cancel a center. And therefore, if you see somewhere a center is not functioning, an office bearer is not functioning, it is our duty to advise that office bearer, but not to throw him away, not to throw the center away. So please, membership, no obstacles, and do not think of sacking people or closing centers, etc. Many complaints sometimes we get that I don't know what is happening in my center. I don't know how they select people, why John was taken, Paul was not taken. I don't know what's happening in my center. And therefore, it is necessary that whoever is the chairman of the center should from time to time call a general meeting where he can explain and where members can also air their views. Sometimes you don't know, the newest member can bring a beautiful suggestion. So therefore it's necessary to have a meeting, a general meeting, at least I would suggest every half year, twice a year we should have such a meeting. The next one is the center or group will follow the rules and regulations and guidelines laid down for the Sai organization. The center or group will not ordinarily be registered under the local laws pertaining to the registration of the societies if such registration is not mandatory. This is another thorny point. If you have a Sathya Sai central organization in a country and you don't like somebody and you go out, you try to form your own center and register it as such, well, we're not going to encourage that sort of thing. We want everybody to be together. If the organization is formed in a country, it must be registered and it must go through the normal rules and regulations of that particular country. But no splinter groups going out to register on their own. The next one is when organizing a public meeting to propagate the message and teachings of Bhagavan, all should be welcome. There should be no charge levied and no donations solicited or accepted. This ruling should be made clear in all free literatures to be distributed, in any formal statements are to be made, and if any formal statements are to be made to the media, details of this must be discussed first with the chairman or the coordinating committee or the central council. There are two things here. One is if you have a public meeting, there again should be no condition. Whether you are a member or devotee or not, all should be welcome. And there should be no collection of monies or donations on public meetings. Also, if you have to make an announcement or if the media is coming to interview, the person who is to be interviewed should clear himself, so that when the person is speaking to the media, is speaking on behalf of all of us. Generally, he should know what the organization stands for, what Swami's teachings are for. Because these days, we have this internet. We have this highway of information. And any wrong information can lead to problems all over the world, not only in your country, because people can quote through the internet. The next one I want to touch is no one should teach any SSEHV program without having undergone the appropriate training as recommended by the Sai organization, and proper identification shall be issued to those undergone the training. Now here's where our institute comes in. The institute issues certificates. The institute is in the know of who are being trained anywhere in the world, and therefore we don't want people to just get up and say, I have become an instructor in EHV, unless the person is properly trained. Connected to this is the next point. When any training program is organized, the name of Sathya Sai should be presented as the source of the program. It is necessary. We don't want names like everyday values, human values, without Swami's name. And in fact, this does not apply only to the EHV. It applies to any program. Any program organized by the organization must carry Swami's name. This is because Swami's name carries blessings. Believe you me, some of you may not know how deep is that name, Sathya Sai. It's a very deep name, and it carries a lot of blessings. Believe me. Therefore, anything you do, if it is to do with organization, please, please use the name. The next item is the Sai organization is based on love and service, and not evangelist or politicizing organization. Its principles and objectives are to help the individual become aware of the divinity that is inherent in them and to conduct themselves accordingly, translate into practice in daily life divine love and perfection, and therefore fill their lives with joy, harmony, beauty, grace, human excellence, and lasting happiness. I'm sure this you understand why we are putting this in, because we want you to understand the two solid pillars. Why is Baba getting so popular suddenly, all these centers coming up? Because of two things. First thing, he says he is for all religions. This is the number one point. And perhaps time to come, as human beings get educated, and instead of the internet, they go into their internet, they will find out that God is one. What he's saying is the truth. And the second thing he says is very simple. His two solid pillars are love and serve. Love and serve. That's all you need to do, love and serve. It's very simple. Because man's originality is to love. If you see a small baby, a small child, and look at the child, and when the child smiles at you, how nice you feel. We are all like that. We are born like that. But unfortunately, we pull up long faces, etc., because the society has taught us to do that. So please remember, it's love and serve. That is what the whole thing is about. The next one is to ensure that all human relations are governed by the principles of truth, right conduct, love, peace, and non-violence. These are the 5 human values that we are going about with. This is very important to remember in our daily life. And the next one is to make devotees more sincere and dedicated in their practice of other respective religion. That is to say, you must respect all religions, because only when you respect somebody's view, they will respect your views. It is like throwing a ball. If you throw a ball at 45 degrees, it's going to return at 45 degrees. If you hit the ball with the wall, it's not going to come back with 60 degrees. So if you don't respect others' views, they're not going to respect your views. And it's necessary to respect all other religions. The next one is SSEHV for Africa. When I first started as a central coordinator, I was of the impression that time that it is only service. If you serve the African brothers and sisters, you give them food, then they will listen to you, and then they will understand Swami's love. And I tell you, in 10 years, we have not succeeded very much. And I am therefore of the opinion that what my brother Victor has said this morning, we have to have EHV, SSEHV in Africa. Because the adults are too solid to understand things. They have their own mind, but it's the children. And I can tell you, from what I saw in Indola and the effects of SSEHV on those children will become leaders in their countries. And then they will have the right moral. Africa is perhaps the richest continent on this earth. We have gold, we have diamonds, we have oil, we have everything. We have rich virgin soil. We have very, very capable African human beings. In fact, if you know, the highest civil servant in the world, the Secretary General of UN, is an African. So don't underestimate Africans and Africa. The only problem is that we are not managing the effects properly. We are not managing the riches properly. And it is because of the moral values. Once those children who are now undergoing SSEHV program grow up and become leaders of these countries, you will see what they call the dark continent, I pray one day will become the divine continent. While on this subject, and since we are all here from Africa, and 75th birthday of Swami is coming, I pray that before we close tomorrow, we have at least, we can't have 75 schools in Africa because that's asking for too much. But at least we should pledge that before we go from here, we will adopt, before the 75th birthday, 75 schools in Africa. The next item that I wanted to touch on was service. Many people say that, oh, well, they were going to feed the poor. I gave 10 rands or 100 rands and so on and so forth. But although it's a good thing, I mean, we want contributions, we want donations for various projects. But it is necessary that we must somehow involve ourselves personally to give part of us. There was a story once I heard that a man passed away and he went up there and he saw two doors. One was going to hell and the other one was going to heaven. Swami is here, so the heaven must be here. Now, when this man went up there, he saw the door to the hell was wide open. Nobody going there. He saw the door to the heaven was locked and a long queue outside. So he asked, what's happening? They say, here you can go whenever you please. But here they need to check you and they need to give you permission. He says, why? He says, because not everybody has behaved so well in their human form. So we have to check. He said, but I am all right. I have not done anything wrong. I paid my taxes, I obeyed my government, I obeyed my wife, I looked after the 5 children. And so I'm all right. I shouldn't be waiting in this long queue. So he went forward and he knocked the door. And an old man came out and said, son, why are you in a hurry? He said, I'm not like them. I was office bearer in Sai Baba's organization. So he says, what did you do? He said, well, when they went to feed the blind, I gave $50. When they went to build the toilets, I gave $10. And he went on counting his money. So the old man gave him a piece of paper and gave him a pen. And he said, son, go and write what you've done. And so this man goes to write. And at the end of it all, he makes a total $41,950. That's what he has done in his lifetime. And he brought it to the old man. The old man looked at it and said, that's nice. And he looked back and told the young man there, he says, please give him his check for $49,250 and tell him to go to hell. So, brothers and sisters, the check in the hell is no use to us. Try to do something by ourselves. Number 11 point, which I wanted to touch, has already been mentioned by me. When any devotee has any problem, queries or contributions to make, they should be addressed following the standard protocol. Kindly do not breach this protocol. You know, we like to welcome these things. It's not that we don't want to answer or anything. In fact, all my emails that come, I try and answer on the same day. But then to refer back every time is just waste of time. So please try to bear with us and do the right thing. The next one is number 12. The elders of the center must oversee the youth activities, and where possible, the male and female youth must perform their duties separately. Now, youth, we have started only very, very recently. And I'm particularly worried about some of the African countries, because it's a new plant that we are starting, and we must nurture it carefully so that we don't have problems from the beginning. And therefore, it is my advice that all elders in the center should take interest in what the youth is doing. If the youth say, okay, Saturday we are going out for seva to the police cell or to the prison or so on and so forth, the one or two youths should go and take interest and see exactly what is happening. Because it's necessary to guide the youth. Afterwards we can leave them alone. But now the plant is young. Let's nurture it so that we don't have difficulties, particularly in African countries. The next one is number 13. There must be only one trust per country for the organization, and there may be another trust for education and schools. Where necessary, both trusts, the end beneficiary must be Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust India. Where more than one trust already exists in a country, then the following will apply. Please try to understand this point. In the past, everybody has had his own will to put up a trust. You have somebody putting up a trust in, let's say, Indola, then another one putting up a trust in the next country like Kitwe, their own trust. We are not saying that you should not look after your own accounts, or you should not look after what you are getting and know how to spend, etc. That's all right, not a problem. But we must have one trust in each country. Otherwise, we will not be able to control these things. You can have another trust, providing it's only for schools and educations. Now, we have already countries where several trusts exist. There are two ways to solve that problem. One is if you have, say, 6 trusts and we have one central trust, then the other 5 trusts must be dissolved, and perhaps the chairman or the main person from that trust can be put on the central trust so that he or she knows what is happening. If that is not possible, only if that is not possible under extreme circumstances, then what we could do is to perhaps put an end beneficiary clause. So if you have a trust and there's a central trust already existing in the country, you put an end beneficiary clause to say that everything in this trust will eventually belong to the central trust of that country. And then that country's central trust, if laws permit, should again have an end clause which should say everything that is in this trust will belong ultimately to the Sri Sathya Sai Central Trust of India. You know, forget a trust. We also belong to him. So why not the trust? Everything should belong to the Lord. And this is nothing new. It is nothing difficult or different. I have two more points to make which I have not put down on paper because I thought it will be nice to mention those points rather than putting them on paper. Number one point is respect to our elders. We must respect our elders. We must respect everybody that we think is helping us in any way at all. But there's a way of expressing our respect. My advice is that if you have a chairman, central coordinator, or chairman of the coordinating committee, or anybody, all you have to do is to say Sai Ram from your heart. There is no need to bow down and touch the feet. You only touch the feet of Swami and your mother and father. Even when you touch the feet of Swami, there should be some protocol. You must get Swami's permission. You just don't go and grab his feet. And therefore, I believe in our organization, we need a little code of conduct. When we see somebody we want to respect, somebody we love, somebody who's helped us, just fold your hands and say Sai Ram. And say it from your heart. That is enough. No need to touch the feet. Baba has said on this touching of the feet, God is positive, man is negative. If contact is made, the divine current flows from the positive to the negative. For these reasons, the Indian tradition of touching divine person, but without some form of discipline and limitations, people will be touching faces and body. Hence the custom of touching the lotus feet. So touch the lotus feet of your parents and of the divine so that the current can flow. Another thing I wish to mention, which I have not put down on paper, is that sometimes we have dreams. We dream about Bhagwan. We are very lucky if we dream about Bhagwan. But sometimes you have a person coming to the center and say, oh, you know, last night Baba came to my dream. Baba said, paint the whole temple blue. And so Baba has said it. Tomorrow I'm going to bring the painter and paint the temple blue. You see, there are certain things which are very personal. The interviews you have with Swami, they are very personal. They are between you and the Lord. Keep it to your heart. They are sacred. The dreams you have, and you dream about Swami telling you things, keep it to your heart. Maybe blue means something else, not painting the temple blue. So please, the organization has its own rules and regulations, and do not bring personal things in there. Finally, I want to tell you what Baba says about rules and regulations. Because like I said in the beginning, we are divine Atmas. And if we realize that, we don't need these rules and regulations. But because we forget it. And this is what Swami has says. Do not fret against rules and regulations which the organization imposes on you. They are laid down for your own good. Regulations is the very essence of creation. The ocean observes the limitations. The wind and the fire respects their limits and bounds. The human body has to maintain its warmth, 98.54 degrees Fahrenheit. In order to be healthy, and the heart has to beat a definite number of times. How then can this organization escape the prescriptions of rules and regulations? Sai Ram.
But before we break up, I'd just like to continue from Brother Kishin just a little bit. You know, when the universe was created 15 billion years ago, we know that scientists are very clever. They observe stars, they see the motion of the furthest stars in the universe, which are traveling at almost the speed of light, moving away from each other. And they can work out backwards in time and see that the universe started with a big bang, big explosion, 15 billion years ago. And when there was this explosion, you know, when you have an explosion, you would see a lot of chaos. Things are burning, things are flying apart, everything destroyed. But we don't see that in creation. In fact, we see that there's a lot of order within our own universe. Despite that big bang, that big explosion, stars are not crashing into each other. We don't have any problem in the universe. Everything is moving in an orderly fashion. The earth is moving around the sun, and other planets are also moving within their own orbit. They don't go into each other's orbit. They don't crash into one another. Our sun is not crashing into another sun, and the galaxies are not crashing into each other. We see a lot of laws and regulations within the universe. So this is a big lesson to all of us. If we don't have rules and regulations, there will be chaos. We need laws, we need rules, regulations. And Swami has certainly stressed the importance of discipline. Always discipline, discipline. This is very important for all of us. So that is why our organization must have discipline, must have rules and regulations. Anyway, I can't talk much more. My head is beginning to spin. It's getting close to 6 o'clock, yes.
The topic for today is the Current Spiritual Directives of Sri Sathya Sai Baba. These directives are from the one and only fountain of knowledge, who is Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Therefore, you will see a connecting thread in all our speeches so far. On the 17th of May, 1968, Baba announced at a gathering of 1,200 delegates from all over the world, and I quote, "My reality is unreachable. It will be unreachable not only today, but even for 1,000 years. Though the 1,000 years are spent in ardent inquiry by all the people of the world, acting in unison. the directives emanating from that reality that is conferred by that reality is within the reach of all the nations of the earth. And you can partake of this. This Sathya Sai manifestation is divine reality itself, unquote. Our Sister Mamilu has just mentioned Swami's visit outside of Africa. As children of the continent of Africa, we must never forget the last day of June 1968, when the whole of Africa shared in that acclamation and Swami's visit to East Africa became a reality. That epoch-making visit to Africa by Swami marked the beginning of a golden chapter in the history of mankind. It ushered in a Sai era of love, humility, reverence, earnestness, discipline, and devotion, which still today reverberates and resounds within the hearts of all the members of the Sathya Sai organization in a growing momentum as his prasad, as his current directives. Baba declared on that historic occasion, and I quote, "I have resolved to enfold in the fostering care of the universal Dharma laid down in the Vedas. The peoples of the world, this will be done soon. This is my task. It is not my task to spread awe and wonder in the world by my power and draw men to me thereby. I shall sustain truth and uproot truth. I shall render you happy and ecstatic in the splendor of that triumph." Unquote. You have heard this morning by Brother Victor Kanu. Though Baba has declared that the whole world is his mansion, and though he has said his visit to Africa was but a peep into one of the rooms of that mansion, we realize more so today the deeper significance of that occasion and how richly it impacts on each and every one of us here present at this conference. Sai brothers and sisters, we assemble here as delegates under the banner of the All Africa Conference. It is time to take stock and understand clearly what is Swami's current spiritual directives. At the end of this conference, we must be able to disseminate this invaluable information in one voice for the benefit of not only ourselves, but the whole of mankind, the community at large, for without a doubt, the Sai phenomena is impacting everywhere. It is therefore important for all the office bearers of the Sathya Sai organization to know Sai Dharma in thought, word, and deed. To begin with, let us look at the spiritual principles enunciated by Bhagwan Baba for the organization as a whole. They are very simply discipline, devotion, duty, determination, and discrimination. The tools to implement these basic principles when interacting with all the cultures of the world, that is, without in any way diluting the individual spiritual essence, and are briefly the following. A, Sai centers must encourage and generate public interaction through devotional singing, service activities, educational programs, EHV, meditation, and public meetings. Emphasis must be placed on Sai's universality, consolidating its total spiritual and all-encompassing outlook. We need look no further than the Sarva Dharma emblem, which captures the spirit in all its essence. Therefore, Sri Sathya Sai Baba's current spiritual directives are not to become entrapped by any individual religious dogma, or esoteric limitations. In this regard, all I can say is, members and office bearers, please beware of this pitfall. The Sai organization was founded by Swami for the whole of mankind, not recognizing any distinction of separateness on the basis of religion, caste, color, or creed. I raise this as a moot point because in South Africa, we are indeed a rainbow nation and a new democracy, and we have to constantly guard against any misconceptions that the Sai organization is firstly an Indian organization, and secondly, that it caters for Hinduism alone. Historically, the majority of the Sai members have been Indians in this country, but at no point in time there has been a change in the spiritual directive of the avatar that the organization is anything other than a spiritual and universal organization for the benefit of the whole of mankind. This is therefore an ideal forum to reassure the majority of the South Africans and the peoples of the African continent that Sri Sathya Sai Baba's universal spiritual directive is beginning to gain healthy ground at grassroots levels in our country. A step in the right direction came to light recently in KwaZulu-Natal when the Sai organization embraced and COFA, that is the Center for African Renaissance, in a joint cultural and spiritual celebration and Hambanati. To kindle the true spirit of the African Renaissance and nurture it with our very own Sai principles of truth, peace, reform, tolerance, and love amongst all the peoples of our blessed country, and to bring us all closer to Sri Sathya Sai Baba's ideal of the great oneness of humanity. We are happy to share this information with you and assure you that this is one of the challenges we are fully committed to take up head-on and succeed 100-fold in the new millennium. Now to synthesize the current divine directives of Bhagwan Baba into the following salient points. 1. A true Sai devotee must have complete faith in the divinity of Bhagwan Baba and follow his teachings implicitly in thought, word, and deed. 2. The Sai organization will be the instrument for the flow of truth, because the purpose of a devotee's life is Satya Anaveshan, it is excavation of truth. 3. The Sai organization offers itself as a vehicle to all devotees for engaging in community sadhana and the refinement of family sadhana. 4. Sai devotees have to strictly avoid anger, greed, and jealousy. 5. Sai devotees must not dwell on the past. Baba's directive is, past is past. Forget the past, make a new beginning. Sai devotees must also understand the significance of the word Sai. S for spiritual transformation. A, associations that need to change continuously in the right direction. I, individual transformation and upliftment. This should be the spiritual path for devotees to attain perfection. 7, a Sai devotee must make his best effort to eliminate in his or her life all undesirable habits and traits. Life must be continually enriched by pure and noble thoughts. 8, Sai devotees must recognize the importance of human values in life, which is truth, right conduct, peace, love, and nonviolence, are like the 5 vital life breaths. 9, a devotee should cultivate and practice the habit of reflection and contemplation. Our greatest sadhana should be to reflect on the divine directives of Bhagwan Baba and to see how we can put these into practice in thought, word, and deed. Baba's teachings enshrine a message that is universal, because, search as you may, you cannot find the slightest trace or the indication of dogmatism or sectarianism, much less fanaticism, in any one of his teachings. Swami tells us, my life is my message, expansion is my life. Here his clear directives to us is one of expansion. He reminds us that expansion is life and contraction is death. By life, Baba means the totality of living, not only by us alone, but also in relation to our family, our community, our country, and our world. Such awareness leads us to become sensitive to the essence of the divine within us and around us. And we move up that ladder to a state of integrated awareness, of which depends the practice of constant awareness. However, this integrated awareness only blossoms when we relate our individual sadhana with the family sadhana and with the community sadhana. This constant integrated awareness becomes the best form of worship that every one of us should strive for. It may be appropriate at this point to briefly highlight some of Swami's 46 maxims of conduct he has declared. I shall quote a few of them. Prema, love, should be considered as the very breath of life. The one Paramatma is in everyone in the form of prema. Believe that there is nothing greater than truth, nothing more precious, nothing sweeter, and nothing more lasting. Be always on the alert against the four sins which the tongue is prone to commit: speaking falsehood, speaking ill of others, backbiting, and talking too much. It is best to attempt to control these tendencies. Try to prevent the 5 sins that the body commits: killing, adultery, theft, drinking intoxicants, and eating of flesh. Have undiminished kindness towards all beings, and also the spirit of self-sacrifice. For faults and sins committed in ignorance, repent sincerely. Try not to repeat the faults and sins again. Pray to God to bless you with the strength and the courage needed to stick to the right path. Never, even if you cannot or will not do any good deed, do not conceive or carry out any bad deed. Instead of searching for others' faults, search for your own faults. Uproot them, throw them off. It is enough if you search and discover one fault of yours. That is better than discovering tens of hundreds of faults in others. Do not allow anything to come near you which will destroy your eagerness and enthusiasm for God. Want of eagerness will cause the decay of the strength of man. Swami clear directives in pronouncing these maxims are: only when in your daily conduct and in all actions you automatically behave and act in this manner and along these lines can you attain the divine principle very easily. That's where Swami says, hold on to these maxims firmly. Now, very briefly, I shall highlight some noteworthy current directives and practical feature of Swami's teachings. 1. Swami wants us not to stagnate, but to press forward in our spiritual day-to-day practices. For example, in the case of worship, we should not get stuck in external worship and with external paraphernalia, only but to proceed to the next higher state of mental worship. 2, he wants us to progress to the stage where instead of offering the perishable leaf, flower, and fruit, we offer the products of our own life, sanctified by service to all beings. 3, he wants us to reach a stage where we dedicate all our thoughts, words, and actions to him, and where every man is a worshipper and the reality in every being will be the object of worship. So too with japa. You would urge us to progress from audible japa to movement of lip without sound, then to mental, and finally to spontaneous japa. As for meditation, it is okay in the beginning to meditate with name and form, but we should reach a stage when we meditate at all times and at all places on the formless. That is the eternal Satchit Ananda principle underlying all forms and names. In the final analysis, the progress in our spiritual journey should culminate in reaching a point where there is only the supreme silence and eternal bliss. Brothers and sisters, the divine directives of Bhagwan Baba must be captured daily in our sadhana by putting them into practice in thought, word, and deed. Swami has said that the test of continuous spiritual growth lies in acquiring a sense of equal-mindedness in day-to-day life. This is the challenge we all have to meet. However, one's scholarship, position, or affluence, all of them will be of no use if one has not acquired the capacity to face the vicissitudes of life with fortitude and discipline. The best example of discipline is Swami himself. Discipline, plainly, is the means of putting the ego's wishes into their places. Swami teaches, first we correct our priorities, which have in the past been based on ignorance, and what our real goals are. Our new priorities are based on the fact that we are one with all other beings. Knowing that you and your brother are one gives you a motive for consistent discipline. When you discipline your thoughts, right actions will follow, not the other way around. A total approach is needed, one that fits your own character and situation. This discipline will contribute to your transformation. However, guard against laziness and thinking that merely to attend weekly bhajan singing or repeating the names of God will be enough to bring you with union to God, with God. You have now to include meditation daily in your sadhana. Silence and meditation is a great help in keeping your focus. The ultimate good is reached when you no longer see the other as separate or as less worthy than yourself. Swami has recommended to us the Soham and the Jyoti meditation. This discipline should be placed first in your sadhana, therefore it is the first point of the 9-point code of conduct. If you wish to glimpse the divine within, and Bhagwan is currently placing more and more emphasis on this discipline. Now to focus your attention to the charter of the Sri Sathya Sai World Organization, which embraces the 9-point code of conduct and the general principles. The divine call is that every single member must function under the 9-point code of conduct and the general principles. This is the guiding directive for a devotee's spiritual and personal development. However, the charter clearly states that no person shall be qualified to associate himself or herself as office bearers or worker within the organization who willfully deviates from the 9-point code of conduct, which I'm safe to say every one of you present here is fully acquainted with and therefore needs no repetition. The general principle, on the other hand, relate to community sadhana. Here, Baba's directive is towards integration of the world community, and he has laid down the following. 1. Treat as sacred the land in which you were born. 2. Practice all religions equally. 3. Recognize the brotherhood of man. Love all, serve all. 4. Keep your house and surroundings clean. 5. Practice charity. 6. Never give or take a bribe. 7. Curb envy and jealousy. 8. Try to do as much as possible by yourself. 9. Have and cultivate love for God and fear of sin. 10. Never go against the law of the land. In highlighting current spiritual directives of the Avatar, we all have to understand that the Advent, our loving spiritual master, has been working tirelessly within our physical midst for the past 73 years. And he will continue to work and take us through into the new millennium until he finally leaves his physical form. Baba has reassured mankind of the coming of the Avatar Premasai when he departs. The coming 21st century will be heralded as a century of love, Prema, a new reality for the new millennium through the Sankalpa of our Lord, and his tireless efforts to raise man's awareness of his own inner divinity through self-transformation and selfless service. Our current goal should therefore center around Swami's important directives to strengthen unity in diversity. Our initiative should be of a more universal flavor, underlining this global directive from our Lord. Today, with the advent of the global satellite link-ups, feasibility of live transmission of multilingual major events, televised video conferences, we sit poised to have Swami's discourses live to world as a reality. Brothers and sisters, so vast is the literature dealing with Sai directives and the teaching that to attempt to compress these precious gems within the confines of this paper would undoubtedly amount to an exercise in futility. Hence, what I have attempted in my address to point the way and secure a few glimpses of the important and unique directives based on the revelations made by him from time to time. It is therefore appropriate at this All Africa Conference in 1999 for me now to conclude with the powerful message that Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba revealed on his departure from Africa in 1968, which has stood the test of time and continues to generate the potency of his fundamental directive, that is, Sai love is a royal road for man to realize the divinity in him and in everyone. I quote Baba, "Love must be transmuted into beneficial endeavor. Effort to realize the truth. God is the ocean of love, and so, even if our love towards him is tainted, it does not matter. Pour it into the ocean. It will merge in that vast, deep ocean and become divine. Do not wait until your love is absolutely unselfish and pure. Start offering all attachment and affection that you have towards objects to the lotus feet. He will purify it. He can cleanse it. The very attitude will make them pure. Love is purified as in a filter. The dregs will stay behind. You have known by experience that work is better done by cooperation and mutual trust. The eye sees a fruit. The mind craves for it. The feet walks towards the tree. The back bends. The shoulders swing. The fingers pick up a stone and throw it with good aim at the twig that carries the fruit. The fruit falls to the ground. It is picked up by the fingers and put into the mouth. It is rolled on the tongue, bitten by the teeth, swallowed by the gullet, and digested by the stomach. Now the stomach in turn strengthens. With the essence of the fruit, the gullet, the teeth, the tongue, the fingers, the shoulders, the back, the eye, and the mind, is all a chain of love and cooperation. Be like this well-orientated group. Swami, through his many discourses and message, and through all the literature we've got, and through the many workshops conducted by our council members, we have all the knowledge required to follow these directives. We have all the knowledge, and Swami in many ways has shown us how much he loves us all, even by the message our brother has brought back to us. And I think it's now time for us to put all these practices, all these directives into practice, and to become worthy instruments of this divine organization which bears the name of Sri Sathya Sai. Om Sai Ram.
Sister Savi Ramlall, for a beautiful talk reminding us of Bhagwan Baba's numerous spiritual directives. It is important that we are reminded of these directives from time to time, not only at meetings, at gatherings like these, but in our own private lives, in our homes. We should go back to Swami's directives, which will become permanent guidelines to our lives. Now it is time for us